Yeah,
Facebook?
I mean, you definitely want to be active on social media. For real estate's more visual, so I'd be focusing on if I'm a real estate agent and I'm picking one channel, I'm probably picking Instagram.
Okay.
Uh, just doing reels and videos are our most important thing, right? Like video, 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 right? If the
Hi, Dave Steinberg back with the Mortgages Made Easy podcast. Realtor friends, this is going to be a real treat because Jason Frazier, I won't use the name Jason ever again in this podcast. Uh, Frazier is a tremendous expert. He's one of the partners at Rebel IQ. He is my go-to guy for digital marketing. And boy, he is the smartest guy I've met in that space. Jason, well, Aaron, edit that out. Fraser, welcome to the program.
Thanks, David. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate everything you said. It's a great honor to be on the podcast, and also that you think of me in that way. So it just shows that I'm actually adding the value that I intend to the industry.
So, if I'm a realtor and I've got a website, what can I do to punch it up? How can I take my website and get real powerful results?
Gotcha. So let me step back a little bit to answer that question, because it's actually just kind of a two-parter. So ultimately, at the end of the day, your website should be focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's to convert the traffic that you send to it. So it's kind of like the chicken and the egg sort of deal. Is one is like, no website, whether it's from us or any other provider out there, is going to do anything unless you're driving traffic to that site. And then once you are driving traffic to that site, whether it's paid ads, whether it's like putting your website out there on flyers, your business card, conversations with people, social media, obviously, um, it, once you drive traffic to that site, you want to convert it. The biggest mistake that I see, both agents and mortgage professionals, but we'll focus on agents for this podcast, is that there's too much of an emphasis put on making it pretty. And not to say that design matters, absolutely, so don't get me wrong, but making it pretty, showing what I'm about, all these things that are about me, that the consumer does not care about, right? So you always have to scroll down to find information, or like you're pointing them in the wrong direction. You should only be pointing the consumer to conversion paths, is what we like to call them, on your site. So from looking at the data, because we have 2,500 plus clients, both in the mortgage and real estate space, we know where consumers spend their time, right? We have what we call a heat map that shows like where the eyeballs are, because if you notice, like when you have your cursor, if you're looking at a site, your cursor tends to go to where your eyeballs are and where they're spending the most time. And it's 95% above the fold, meaning like when you go onto a website, whatever you see there, that's above the fold. What happens is that when you send a consumer there, sometimes you have all these different buttons and all these videos and all these things that are playing that distract them from where you want them to go, right? Which is to, hey, set up an appointment, listing, buyer, or like, hey, get my download my listing guide, my 5 mistakes that buyers make, or things they need to think about before, and I know we'll cover lead magnets here, but like, things that actually interest them and why they actually came to your site in the first place, right? So they don't care about your why, or why you want to do all this stuff. They will eventually, as they get to know you a little bit. But it's like what we call, like, asking someone to get married on the first date, right? You want to give them a chance to do that, but at the end of the day, you really want to focus on converting that traffic that comes to your site. So don't worry, design matters, but don't worry about doing all these things that honestly distract from what you want, which is conversion. So we always ask our clients, one is like, hey, do you want a website that makes you happy, or do you want a website that makes you revenue, right? And unless they're crazy, 99.99% of the time, they want a website that makes them revenue.
Mm. So, um, so what features would you put on the above the fold in that realtor website?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, to just kind of extend that a little bit is think about what you want that consumer to do, right? As an agent, what do you want them to do? And it also depends on the type of traffic you're doing on it. So at least the agents that I've coached in the past or that I talk to, because I have a pretty extensive agent network, especially in this market, is listings, right? Like schedule a listing appointment or we talked about lead magnets, download like, hey, 10 things that sellers need to do before listing their house, or 5 things that sellers need to do before engaging with a real estate agent, something that's going to get them a little bit down the line, because all you care about is grabbing their information, right? So the way we design our sites is that we design what we call yes ladders, right? Yes, answering questions, because the more questions they answer, the more higher intent that lead tends to be, right? So we'll ask questions about, when are you looking at selling? We'll keep it in the frame of listings, right? So when are you planning to sell? Are you buying another house? What's important to you? So whatever you would normally ask the so think about it as this, as an agent, is that if I'm having, let's say you're talking with David is a lead, as a seller lead, right? Before getting that listing appointment, what questions do you really ask a seller, right? To just understand, is it a good fit, or can you help them, right? Or just to do anything you can to somewhat of a pre-framing or pre-qualification of that listing lead. That's what you would use in asking, for our forms. That's what you would then create that form or funnel to ask. And so you could get their contact information, because that's what you want, really. And that's what we build solutions for, is to grab that information. Because once you do it as a real estate professional, once you have their contact information, you know how to sell, right? You know how to close, you know how to convert. So all you want to do is grab that information. When you don't have that stuff front and center, like some people like, hey, book a listing appointment. Sometimes that's what the consumer wants to do. Maybe they saw a social media ad about how you just sold a house in that market, and it was everything that they were looking to do. Hopefully you're using storytelling on social media. So you're like, hey, I just helped David out to sell his house. It was 600,000. He was thinking that he was going to have to, because based off of the media said, what the media is talking about, the housing market's going to collapse next week. So he was concerned he wasn't going to get full price for his house. Guess what? We ended up selling it for 20K over list, right? Whatever story you happen to be telling, but let's say that's how the consumer came to you. So sometimes they're like, look, let's say your name is Cynthia. Cynthia, that's exactly what I want. I want to book a listing appointment with you, right? So have that option there, but also have another button to do what I call like a soft convert, right? So it's basically puts them into a funnel to ask them questions about listing. Again, when are you thinking about listing your house? What's your biggest concern? That type of stuff,
Hey,
just to
Fraser,
grab their yeah.
Fraser, just slow down a little bit. I'm concerned that not everyone will understand what you mean by a funnel.
Oh, okay,
So,
gotcha. Yeah,
yeah,
we could go into that in a second, but to getting back to what I was saying is that when you really want their information, right? And so a funnel, if you don't understand what the purpose of a funnel is, there's and look, there's all these different like sideways funnels and all these the wire trap funnel. There's all these different terminology that you'll see about a funnel, but in its simplest form, a funnel is 3 stages. You have the top of the funnel, you have your middle of a funnel, and then you have your bottom funnel, right? And so the great way that I like to kind of equate kind of like an apples to apples is bottom of the funnel is know you, or sorry, top of the funnel is know you, middle of the funnel is like you, bottom of the funnel is trust you, right? Because generally if they trust you, they're going to do business with you, right? So if you want to take it in forms of marketing, top of the funnel marketing would be something like that social media post that I mentioned, right? So if you put something out on social, whether it's just, hey, I just did this great deal, or hey, if you're looking, I'm seeing this information that is concerning to sellers or buyers, whatever it is, that's more of just awareness. They don't know you from anyone, right? They're just scrolling on social media. Maybe you're running an ad. All of that's top of funnel, right? So you're getting their information. So what we want is, let's say that ad or that social media post is something where it's like www.bestagentever.com, right? So they like your social media post, they don't know who you are, and so they click on it, they go to your site, right? All of that's top of funnel area, right? Now they click into one of a form, whether it's ours or something else, they click into one of our funnels, then it starts asking you question. And again, it's top of funnel, right? But now you got them into the funnel, right? So that's like they're getting to know you a little bit more, or they're just answering questions. Now, generally when I talk about funnel marketing, or if you do know what a funnel is, they think of that bottom of that funnel of that conversion. It doesn't necessarily going to be like, hey, they entered the funnel and then at the end of it they're generating a an appointment with me, like a listing appointment. It's not necessarily, right? That's the macro conversion that you want. But to get to that point, sometimes it takes a lot of micro conversions along the way, right? This is why funnels can get very complex, but they really are quite simple. At the end of the day, you have the beginning and then you have the end of where you want them to get. And then there's all these different things that you do in the middle of it to get them to the end result that you want. And more importantly, the end result that the consumer wants, right? So when you're thinking about micro conversions, is like a micro conversion is, hey, I saw that social media ad or I saw a flyer or whatever, and I went to your website. That's one micro conversion, right? Now that I'm on your website, I'm either going into like downloading a lead, like a buyer's guide or a seller's guide or whatever. That's another micro conversion. I got their first name, their email, and their phone number. That's another micro conversion, right? So again, you keep stacking these micro conversions to get to the macro conversion, which is getting an appointment, right? And then that's when you step in to close and convert, because we can only do so much as marketers. Our job is to generate traffic and to give you at bats with consumers, right? That's our job. Once we give you that at bat, that's when we release the reins as marketers, and that's when you as the real estate professional go to work to convert that into a deal, right? Whether it's a buyer or seller, right? So that there's a lot of different moving parts, and I know I talk kind of fast just because I'm very excited and passionate about this stuff. But when it comes to marketing, nothing has really changed from the way, it's just the channels and the mediums have changed, right? Marketing is marketing. Sales is a transfer of emotion. Sales does not exist without marketing, and marketing does not exist without sales. So you really just got an idea is before you buy CRMs or websites or anything else, you really need to just go back to basics and take a piece of paper and map out exactly what are you wanting to happen, and then you design around that process, right? Because it's going to be different for everyone. Not everyone talks, every market's different. For example, if you're in Southern California, you're not going to create the same process, right? So to speak, because the audience is different than if you lived in Fort Scott, Kansas, right? The audience is going to be different. The house prices are going to be different, right? So everything's going to be different. So you always want to take where you are, where you're doing business, and then map out exactly what that flow looks like. But one thing that you always have to understand is that the consumer journey is not linear, meaning they don't wake up and decide they're going to do X and then they end up at Y. It just doesn't work that way. There's going to be a lot of different paths that the consumer takes before they come to a buying decision. But you just want to make sure that your marketing is playing there at every aspect. And that's why one of the things that I always say is that your marketing begins before the client even knows who you are, right? So that's why you have to be putting content out there, whether it's videos or graphics, social media posts, TikTok, Reels, whatever, so that you can be present. But all of that is about generating traffic to go to your site to you can convert them.
Mm. Now, I've seen quite a few realtor sites, and what strikes is it's almost like it's almost like a beauty page. It's it has a picture of the realtor. It has you'd be hard pressed to find the call to action. How important is the call to action?
Yeah, it just goes right to what I said. The call to action is the most important thing. And look, what I always hear from agents when we have these conversations, and not I'm going to say not all of them, but a lot of them, when they have the pretty sites and they're like, well, I convert just fine, I'm doing business. Here's what I'll tell you is that no one converts at 100%. And that if you don't have calls to action, you are absolutely, without a doubt, leaving money on the table. Because here's what I'll tell you is agents or sales professionals in general, but just speaking to agents, only think about what they see. Meaning, I got I got 3 listings and 4 buyers this month from my site, right? Okay, and to you, that's, hey, that's great. Like, I'm excited about that. That was success to me, right? What if because this is where data matters, right? What if I told you that you probably could have got 6 listings and 10 buyers, right? Because here's the thing is that when someone goes to your website and decides not to do business with you for whatever reason it happens to be, like they saw a social media ad or they saw a post or someone even referred to you and they went to the site, kids started yelling in the background or whatever, and they just bounced right off. Or there's always a lot of different reasons, right? But here's what I'll tell you: that consumer is not going to make a point to email you or call you, text you, or anything else to let you know why they didn't do business with you. They just bounce and go to the next thing, right? Because consumers only care about themselves, right? And that's one thing. That's part of Dale Carnegie wrote that, right? Consumers care about themselves morning, noon, and after supper, right? And so you need to understand that is that so when I have people come to me and I said, okay, can you tell me how many people aren't doing business with you? I have no idea. Like, I couldn't even tell you. Okay, how many people that go to your site actually convert and do an appointment with me? I have no idea. I don't look at that data. So whenever we get, if you don't have analytics, then you can't tell me that you're not losing business, right? So once you have analytics on your site, like Google Analytics or some other service, we go to your site and I look at what they call the bounce rate, meaning someone that goes to your site and doesn't do anything and just leaves, right? You would be you would be shocked because in your mind you're thinking, hey, I'm getting I'm getting listings and I'm getting leads every month. That's great. I'm not saying that isn't successful. I'm just saying there's people that aren't converting and you don't know about that, right? And they're never going to tell you why they didn't convert. And so when I look at bounce rate, I just had this loan officer saying, look, I think I'm getting a lot of traffic, I'm leads, but I don't seem to be getting as much as I think I should, right? And sometimes that's feelings that is unsubstantiated by any data. It's just more than I feel I should be doing better, right? So then I look at their bounce rate. I'm like, well, your bounce rate's 95%, right? And what that means is that out of 100 people, or just keep it a small number, that means out of 10, right, 9.5 of them are leaving, right? So that means that you're getting half of a person or a lead out of every 10 people, right? That's a lot. That, or out of 100, that means 95 people are leaving and 5 people are staying and doing. Now that doesn't mean 5 people are converting. It just means 5 people aren't just touching your site and leaving. Now, when I showed him that and let him know, like, that's what a bounce rate means, like, it was like, oh my God, I got to switch. I got to do something else. I'm like, yeah, that means that you're just shoo-shooing 95 people away from your site based off how it's configured because it's not built to convert, right? And I bet if I looked at most real estate sites, I'll find that even ones that are successful and are pretty and nice and whatever. And so again, don't take what I'm saying wrong, because you definitely want to have a nicely designed site. But Dan Kennedy, who is what I would call like the godfather of marketing in general, and just for any industry, is that you always have a call to action, always, and it's always front and center. It's just simple, like sales and marketing 101, right? And one thing that I think that has made me effective and successful as a marketer in this industry is that I don't focus on real estate and mortgage. I focus on consumerism. I focus on why consumers say yes and why consumers do what they do. Because here's what I'll tell you: is that a consumer is a consumer regardless of product or service, right? They care about themselves and their goals and their objectives and their problems and challenges, and they're looking for a solution to that, right? And that's how I develop all of my marketing around that from people that are outside of our industry. So that's it. And again, the proof is in the success, right? I've generated hundreds of of dollars in closed deals and increased tens of thousands of dollars in extra commissions to real estate agents and mortgage professionals because I focus on that and not the other way around.
So let's start with generating the lead. Do you think Facebook, what do you like as, if I were going to put my attention, I'm a realtor and I want to start getting people going to my website. What's the first place I go to start doing that? Is it Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to be active on social media. For real estate's more visual. So I'd be focusing on, if I'm a real estate agent and I'm picking one channel, I'm probably picking Instagram.
Okay.
Uh, just doing reels and videos are most important thing, right? Like video, right? If you're even debating it, like you're 5 years behind, right? You should be doing video. If I decided like I want to go get my real estate license that I want to start doing real estate, I'm doing one thing and one thing only outside of the Instagram. I am doing YouTube and I'm doing hyper local videos of my market. And then I'm creating micro content off of that video and putting it out everywhere, right? And what I mean by hyper local video is that, like, hey, this is Frazier. I'm in a town called Alpharetta, Georgia, right? So, hey, this is, and I've done this, and this works phenomenally, right? Hey, this is Frazier. I'm a local agent here in Alpharetta, Georgia, and today I want to take you around the beautiful downtown area and talk with a few business owners and talk about why it's so awesome to live here in Alpharetta, right? And I've done these. You can look if you go, go on YouTube and start looking at, like, look at your market, like living in whatever your market happens to be, Salt Lake City, Fort Scott, Kansas, Orange County, California, whatever it is, and see what's out there. And you'll see what I'm talking about. And you'll see that the views on those are crazy, because here's the thing: consumers care about where they live or where they're going to be living. They're not just buying a house, they're buying a community, right? And they're searching for this online. And honestly, there is a lot of real estate videos on that, but most of them suck, right? Most of them are pretty bad. And so you can do that, partner up with a mortgage professional, or just do them yourself. Um, do these videos talking with local businesses in the area. And like, I've never had a local business say no to this. Oh, you're gonna promote my business on YouTube, and it doesn't cost me anything other than sitting down and, like, giving you access to my restaurant or whatever. I have never had a business owner say no, ever in
Mm.
my life, right? Because it's free marketing for them. So why would they not? Not only that, but they're going to share it to their networks too, right? Because everyone's got a sphere of influence, right? And that's what I would be doing as a real estate agent, even as a mortgage professional. But as a real estate agent, if I got my license and decided that, hey, I'm going to be doing marketing, I am almost like 100% focused on doing hyper local videos and videos in general of where I'm living, because it's going to be visual. People are going to see that. People are going to share that. Even if people live in that area already, you're going to be front and center. You want to be, and this is an overused term, but I haven't found one better to talk about, but you want to be that digital mayor of your area, right?
Mhm.
You want to be that, where that person goes. And there's plenty of real estate agent examples. You have Michelle Belisari in Boca Raton. You have Sue Pinky Benson in Naples, Florida. You have Karen Carr, who is, and if you're an agent, you should know these names. Karen Carr out of Savannah, Georgia. All of them do this at a high level on YouTube and or just video in general, but on other, like, Facebook and Instagram. And all of them will tell you that this is, and especially Karen Carr, when it comes to YouTube, there's no one better that will tell you that this is what has generated my business for me.
And so you do the video and then you build a call to action. What's the call to action?
Right, the call to action is go to my site, and then your site is then optimized for conversion, which is, and again, that conversion is depending on what you want, and that's hope is it should be for everyone, is to book a time to talk with me.
Mm.
Right. And that's really, I mean, just to keep it simple, your conversion should be go to my website, or in YouTube or Instagram, you could have them go to, directly to a form or a funnel or whatnot, but then have that be your conversion point, so you get their contact information so that you could schedule an appointment. That should be the call to, or at least that should be the conversion path. But ultimately, you want to be able to schedule an appointment with these people so that you could close them on doing business with you,
Mm.
or build your database up so when they get ready to do that. That's another thing, is like, don't, if they're not, I know we all want instant gratification, instant ROI, but in this market, you want to have the largest database of your competitors, because then what you could do, it allows you to create trust with them, right? They know you, they like you, and trust. So hopefully you have, like, a newsletter and some other stuff going outside of just sending them, like, dumb stuff, but, like, send them stuff of value. Do a hyper local newsletter that's sent to them, right? I'm telling you, this is how you create never ending pipelines. If you look at any, especially in a downturn, this is how you create, generational business, is by filling your database. The more people you talk to, the more business you're going to do, right? Again, we're talking about sales and marketing 101. And so this is how you do it, but you got to be out there. You got to have content out there. You got to have a site and a way of converting that into grabbing their information so you could have that database.
Mm. I'll ask you one or two more questions. You know, I really appreciate the thought about how you go from, uh, getting people to notice you to getting the response into your system. Fraser, how can I help my real estate partners um, get better response on their existing websites?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great question. So, great example too, because David is a client of Rebel IQ, and so he actually has access to all this technology that I'm talking about, and he has the ability to partner up with all of you to add these conversion paths to your site. And so, and again, I don't want to speak for David, but as someone that has coached agents and worked and actually spent, I've been in this industry for 14 years and focused on creating great partnerships between real estate and mortgage professionals. Look, you want someone that's going to help you work these leads together, right? And so David has access to all these, what we call, rebel paths and convert sticky bars, all these things that go into your site that then can convert this traffic, and then he can help you with with generating leads together. So look, if this is stuff, and look, as a real estate agent, you could come direct to us for this. We tend to not do real estate websites, but we do partner with other companies that do provide the websites, and then we could use our conversion technology as a partnership. But ultimately, David's already a client; he's already got access to all of this. So what better way for you, David, to offer real value to agents? And this is honestly like one of the biggest Remax offices in the, or not one, the biggest Remax office in the world is a client of ours, and we did that by partnering him with one of our Rebel IQ loan officers. So you are you are in no better position than you are to provide value to our agents.
Mm. Fraser, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. This has been a great experience. I'd love to do it again. And thank you all for listening. This is the Mortgages Made Easy podcast. So grateful that you participated. And our Fraser's contact information will be posted below, Rebel IQ. And thank you so much. Have a great
Thanks,
day.
David. Appreciate you having me.